Well, Bud, we can't hear you.
So if there's only one thing that will go wrong, it's every Tuesday when I do this intro. I'm already getting buzzed by people who are like, that was wrong. But Mike, look at you with your hat. Why are you wearing a hat?
It's Halloween, so I decided to wear a hat.
And Redheaded Ed gives you a nice hat compliment.
Thank you. Thanks, Redheaded Ed.
Today's our Halloween special, Mike. I'm gonna stand up at the risk of showing my big fat belly, and I'm gonna show you that I'm wearing my Halloween jack-o'-lantern shirt. What do you think of that?
Spooky. That's scary.
Yeah, a guy my age should not be holding his shirt up. Oh, thank you, Redheaded Ed.
Yes, and it is also Buddy's birthday.
Thank you, right there.
I sent you something, but it won't get there till Saturday.
What is it?
Well, you gotta wait till Saturday.
Someone was chewing gum right into the mic. What was that? Really?
Well, I couldn't hear you at the very beginning, so.
Well, Mike, what I'm hoping is that for my birthday celebration, we will be talking about what is, I believe, the best holiday on the calendar. Do you have a favorite holiday, Mike?
I would probably go with Arbor Day.
Arbor Day? What is Arbor Day?
That's where you plant all the trees.
Oh. Well, my favorite holiday is Halloween. Always is, always will be. It is right around my birthday, and every birthday was a Halloween-themed birthday for you. Yes, tonight is actually my birthday, October 29th, Mike. I'm sure.
Congratulations.
I'm sure you've been putting $10 into a jar for the last 6 months, and something big is on my way.
Yeah, I've been waiting for one of those comic book school mugs.
Yeah. So let's get on with the show. Let's get on with the show. Glenn Gatilla, are you watching it? What is Krampusnacht? Is that Christmas night?
Something with Christmas, but Krampus.
Krampus. Okay, Mike. So we are going to be talking about one of my favorite things, which is horror and horror comics. This will be tangentially educational, maybe if we feel like it. But more than anything, we are just celebrating the spooky season.
Of course. I like the background graphics you got there with Michael Myers and Casper.
Yeah, they travel together. So I'm going to give people a trigger warning because I want people to understand. After this particular cover, everything is horror.
Everything after this.
Everything after this may be disturbing to certain people.
Well, we have to blur it out in the final edit.
I don't think so. We're giving trigger warnings ahead of time. I see people putting up comments. Hi, Andrew Campbell. Hey, guys.
Andrew Campbell.
Where's it? Is Andrew from down under?
He is our Australian, but he has requested that I never do the accent again.
Well, we're glad to have you. Oh, that sounds so cute. But thank you, Gatilla. You know, I missed Gatilla at New York Comic Con this year.
There's no picture?
No, there's no Gatilla picture this year. For some reason, Gatilla did not find me this year.
Oh, I'm sad to hear that.
Yep, and Andrew is. Andrew,
he's not sad that I won't.
He's not sad that you're not doing the accent. Oh, happy one, bud. Enjoy your hat, Mike.
Thank you.
That was it. That's it.
She popped on to say happy birthday, and now she's gone.
All right, that's fair. All right, so Mike, we're gonna go through a tour of classic horror comics. When you were growing up, did you read primarily superhero horror? What'd you read?
It was mostly superhero. I had a couple of horror comics that really, really scared me, so I didn't really enjoy them that much. The Witching Hour, that's what it was called. The Witching Hour. I had a Witching Hour comic.
I think I probably had those as well. You're doing a horror show, not for me. Adios. Okay, well, no problem, Redheaded Ed. Walking Pneumonia.
Uh-oh. You had Walking Pneumonia and you went to the convention?
You went to Comic-Con? Well, I'm glad you didn't get a picture with me.
Glad he didn't find you this year.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't. Well, Mike, the horror genre is legendary from these EC comics, which led to quite literally censorship of comic books because the comic books published by EC Comics were so scary at the time and so horrifying that the government got involved, and there was a hue and outcry. There were burnings of comic books, and they created the Comics Code, where you could.
Is that the little thing up in the corner?
That is right. It was responsible from from this. Now, looking back, when you reread these, some of them are authentically good and scary. They are not like, it's hard to do scary with comic books because there's no such thing as like a jump scare. There's no music. It's all in your head. It's all internal monologue. But Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror did occasionally have some disturbing enough comics. I was always freaked out by anything where people were buried alive.
Oh, that's not good.
I'm always freaked out by buried alive. Now, did you ever go back and reread these old 50s and 60s Tales from the Crypt?
No, I watched Tales from the Crypt when it was on HBO, though. That was good.
It was better. Yeah, it was better than you would expect. So, going through a tour of some of the older books, as you noted, DC Comics had quite a lot of horror comics. Now, these are, as you can see with this little seal here, these were approved by the Comics Code Authority, which means they stunk. They absolutely had there was nothing scary about them. There was nothing creepy about them. The best part about them was typically the cover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the covers didn't need to be approved, or they did get approved. They just weren't scary enough.
No, but they were just single panel gags that made you go, oh my God, this looks great. I have to pick this up. You pick it up and you read it
and it stunk.
Wholly disappointing.
Well, you should have known better. If you saw that Comics Code, you should have just put it right back.
Yeah. But I didn't know about the comic. Do you remember these comics? These kinds of
I vaguely remember the House of Mystery, but not really. I don't remember the Unexpected Ones, anything like that.
Yeah, House of Mystery later became famous because they had the House of Mystery brothers, and they would always Cain and Abel, and they would always
Cain and Abel. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
From
completely mediocre, but we're going to get to some good stuff. But I wanted to kind of take you through a little initial tour of where we came from. There's your Witching Hour.
Yep.
And then
I wish I still had that. I wish I would have had that issue. I would have brought it in because it still frightens me.
Does it? You have to find it. You'll have to find it and play. I mean, they did a lot with color and light and darkness. I mean, right there, I would want to pick that cover up, The Witching Hour. It looked like something I wanted to buy. Weird War, why they put Frankenstein in the army.
Well, he would be a good soldier. He can't really be killed.
So over here was, I guess it was sort of like the universal horror monsters. You had the Dracula, you had the werewolf. I'm not sure who this dude was.
He was Green Helmet Man.
I'm sure the audience knows, but clearly they did not cover up. They were fighting Nazis, the forever villains. You can always, no matter what, you can always put it in anybody against Nazis, and they are the villains.
Yep. Nobody likes the Nazis.
Yeah, but Weird War Tales was it would go all over, haunted tank, different things like that. So they would try anything. They kind of do a little bit of superhero edge, a little bit of horror edge. Never personally worked, but when DC got into the Vertigo era with the modern DC horror, you will recognize some of these books. So
they got good. Yeah, Preacher.
Now, do you remember what Preacher is about?
Yes, God decides he's going to go away.
Wow, my good memory.
Yeah, and he gives his, I guess, basically word of command to the preacher. I don't remember the preacher's name though.
How did you remember that, Jesse Custer? How did you remember that?
That was a great idea, great premise.
Not only was it a great premise, it was amazingly well executed. It was Frankenstein's monster who was drafted. Just saying, okay. Gatilla with keeping us honest here. And his best friend was a vampire from Ireland.
Yep.
And his girlfriend was Tulip. And it really stands as a milestone of great storytelling, early work by Garth Ennis. I can't recommend this highly enough, but it is a horror comic.
It had some bloody moments. Yes, the whole thing with the Arseface, that was some
pretty brutal
stuff.
I've only seen the Preacher TV show. I will tell you, if you've only seen the Preacher TV show, you're missing out. I tried to watch the Preacher TV show. I really wanted to like it. Did you try it, Mike?
I think I saw the first episode, but I didn't follow through on it.
I watched a couple episodes. I don't know if it was miscast or they hit the wrong direction. I just could not get into the adaptation.
But see, like that cover on the left, That's a great cover.
That is a great cover. Glenn Fabry did all of the covers, and Steve Dillon, who then continued to do work with Garth Ennis on Punisher. We lost him a few years ago. Shame, because he did a tremendous run on Preacher. Okay. Hellblazer and Swamp Thing. Which of these have you read?
I've read some Swamp Thing, and I think I did a little of Hellblazer, but not much. Constantine I did, not Hellblazer.
So Constantine, Hellblazer, first appeared in Swamp Thing, and Swamp Thing was a horror book, but it was kind of aimless, I guess in the early 70s. And then Alan Moore took it over and rebranded it sophisticated horror. So it was a little bit of a slow burn. There were a lot of individual one stories, but he really was the first creator to take the comic book and take horror seriously. It was very intellectual horror. Obviously, as we said, there's no jump scares, there's no music. It is just psychological horror. It's body horror. It's what happens when your body distorts and it's out of control. And then Hellblazer is sort of a supernatural detective. A lot of horrific situations, a lot of hell, a lot of dismemberment. Not my favorite, but I will tell you it is authentically horror and good horror comics.
Not for the faint of heart.
Right. And it all depends on the writer. You can sometimes get a great run of Hellblazer, and sometimes they're just not good at all. DC's done a lot of horror books, mostly under the Vertigo banner. Most of them maintain a fairly high level of quality. Both of these are worth checking out for your Halloween reads.
Okay.
All right.
I'll put it on my Halloween read list.
All right. I cannot recommend this highly enough. Have you read it yet?
I have not. No, I haven't. But I know that this is I think the third or fourth time you've recommended it.
It certainly is. And I want to know why, Mr. Hat-wearing Mike, you still have not read this.
Because if it's horror, like really scary, that's not my thing. I'm very delicate.
It will disturb your delicate sensibilities because it is so.
Even with Andrew, look at this. He doesn't care much for the gore type of horror.
Oh, then Andrew won't like what's coming up. It's Andrew. We're past Casper, where it gets worse from here. But The Nice House on the Lake is just a stunning achievement in writing. Mike, as a screenwriter, and people who have watched the show know that you're a multi-award-winning television screenwriter. You have not written horror, but I think you should just read this for structure and pacing and just brilliant ideas.
I'll keep it on the list. Because
is it really on the list? Are you giving? Is it on your list, or are you just saying that?
No, I'll put it on the list. I'll write it down right now. But that really does look like a nice house on the lake.
It is the nice house on the lake.
The nice house on the lake. I'm going to show you that I'm writing it down.
You're going to write it down. Just in case we're going to lead up to Mike's special segment on the Ultimate Halloween. Oh, there you go. The Ultimate Halloween book. We would be remiss without talking about two essentially horror comics by DC Comics. The Killing Joke, which we covered a couple years ago, really is a horror comic, and it seriously is disturbing. We're glad that it's daytime there as well. Authentically, show me something. Terrifier movies are just disturbing, Glenn.
It's that pneumonia that's lowering your pulse.
We're going to get there, Glenn. We're sort of warming up for the Casper crowd, and then we will get into some stuff that's authentically scary. Arkham Asylum was the first time they looked at the insane asylum where all of the criminally insane were housed. It was a horror book, early work by Grant Morrison, both early work by Alan Moore and Grant Morrison, telling great horror tales. You've read both of these, Mike?
I haven't read Arkham Asylum, but would you really classify Batman, The Killing Joke as horror?
So I am gonna say yes. because it deals with horrific situations in a superhero universe. I'm going to ask the audience, does anybody agree that Killing Joke is horror? Do you doubt that Arkham Asylum is a horror genre?
I don't doubt it, just because, I mean, look at the cover.
Yeah.
And it is Arkham Asylum, which is a bunch of crazies in there.
Yep.
So, but The Killing Joke, I don't know if I would classify that as horror.
All right, you're going to have to reread it. You tell me. You come back next week, we'll see if you think that's horror. Okay. Mike, this is your special report. I'm gonna hand the microphone over to you. Talk to me about what we're looking at here.
Well, this is The Long Halloween. This was back in the 90s, right?
I think you're right.
Yeah. And it's a serial killer, a killer in Gotham that is killing members of I believe it's the Falcone family.
Yeah.
The Maroney family, one of the gang bosses. And they kill only on holidays. It starts off on Halloween and it goes through all the holidays, Christmas and New Year's and all that. And then it comes back to finally Halloween, where the killer is revealed, because they have no idea who it is. And there's a bunch of different tangents, and could it be this person and that person? And I actually just read this for the first time this afternoon. When you were like, we're doing the Long Halloween, so read it. And I did.
What were your thoughts?
Well, I got to say that I don't understand all the hype around it. It was just, to me, it was a Batman comic that didn't have a whole lot of Batman in it. It was basically about the crime family. And Batman occasionally made, he showed up and he fought Catwoman a couple times, and there's a couple other appearances. But other than that, I was like, he's not being the detective. He'd go, oh, someone killed again. And then they'd kind of just jump on to the next thing.
Mike, to what do you attribute the popularity of this series then?
I think it was something at the time. Like, this was something completely new at the time. Like, it was still Batman, but it was, a little step away from Batman. It was about his background and more about Harvey Dent becoming Two-Face. And I think that was the first time it was really explored on how he went from district attorney to Two-Face.
I remember being like, an aha moment was, I did not know. Yeah, there you go, Gatilla. We will not disappoint you tonight, Gatilla. We know you're a horror meister. We know, Gatilla. And what was fascinating to me was, I did not know there was a major holiday in every month.
Yeah, I mean, major holiday. Yeah, so
debatable.
Somewhat,
debatable. But what, to me, this was a perfect melding of Jeff Loeb stretching his legs as an early writer, and Tim Sale as this emerging talent of graphic storytelling that I think at the moment captured the zeitgeist. And we had not seen a story this long unfold, a maxi series like this, Watchmen-like, which was 12 issues. This is 13 issues like this in a long time. And the mystery, as we were in the fan press working for Wizard, we were working for Wizard at the time, this would come out every month. The mystery of it, I think, captivated us. Maybe it didn't pull through when you read it all at once, but I think at the time it captured the zeitgeist and set forth a mystery with a villain named Holiday, I think, that quite literally we couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah, I really think that also did play a big part in it, that you had to, you read an issue and then you had to wait a month before you found out, oh, are they going to find out the killer, or is it just going to lead to something else?
Right. So I think what major is subjective. What is he saying?
Did we talk about a major something?
Major something? We don't listen when we talk. Had a major impact? Is that what I was saying? But I think what we saw with The Long Halloween was what we miss now, and what they're kind of going back to a little bit on bingeable television, is we're used to being able to buy the collected edition. Just read the whole thing. You read it as a collected edition.
Yeah.
But going back, this was rolling out month after month. and it felt like a high wire act. Like what could happen next? What villain would come next?
Yeah, I didn't.
Major holidays. Pull that up by major holidays. There's a holiday every month. Let me just say some of them are major, some of them are minor. Halloween being the most major.
Clearly, yeah. I just didn't. I don't know. It didn't really do much with me. I didn't really care about the crime families. They're there, but they're all kind of background characters.
Didn't live up to the hype.
It didn't live up to the hype that I had made it up or heard about in my head.
All right, then. Well, shall we continue, Mike? Would you give this a thumbs up, read, or? I
would say it's worth a read, but I wouldn't go in with high expectations. That's just me.
I showed the cover there with Poison Ivy because I felt like that was the most compelling visual issue with Poison Ivy. That was where Tim Sale really stretched his legs as an artist. That was literally my favorite issue.
Yeah, but again, for me, I didn't really need to see all the other, supervillains. Like there was no reason to have Poison Ivy in there. She didn't do anything.
No, she looked great. No, she looked great. It was just a great.
And that was it. And same thing, even with Joker. Joker showed up for a couple issues, and then that was it.
That was it. All right. Your mileage may vary. Well said, Philip Burnett. All right, so we're going to go into some classic horror comics. These are classic Marvel comics. Marvel also stung by the Comic Code Authority, just coming out with these Where Monsters Dwell, Crypt of Shadows, where you were like, oh, these are going to be so scary. To DC's credit, they did far better covers.
Uh-huh.
Do you look at this cover and go, oh, I got to read this?
I might read the one on the left, but I don't think I would read the one on the right.
That's funny. I looked at the one on the left and I'm like, oh, middle-aged bald guy with a hypodermic needle and being attacked by a plant. Oh, I got to read that.
Yeah, look at that tree guy. He looks pretty interesting. Find out what his story is.
Yeah, there's nothing there. And then this one over here, I'm like, you're gonna enjoy our date with both of us. I don't know.
No, see that one I wouldn't.
I don't know. Maybe she'll like the guy on the back of the head better.
Kind of like Voldemort. Yeah.
Yeah. What just wasn't like. I just felt like Marvel general horror never did it for me.
Were they as crappy on the inside as the DC ones?
They were actually probably worse than the DC. That was subjectively. They tried to do the superhero thing pretty hard. As the Comic Code Authority was softening, you still had the Comic Code Authority. There's still rules, but you were able to begin to show monsters. And part of the Comic Code Authority was the monsters could never win. Then as it softened in the 70s, Marvel was like, let's do what we do best. Superhero adventures, high drama, and monsters.
And stuff.
And it's almost as bad as you can imagine. I would just like to note that Werewolf by Night, the main character, his name was Jack Russell.
That's pretty good.
Hold on. Burnett said he would pick this one up. He's like junkie on the beach getting attacked.
Yeah.
Because that guy looks exactly like a junkie. You see him. He's well coiffed with this perfect mustache. I don't know why he has a hypodermic needle. I don't care.
Maybe they were friends and he took a shot of that, whatever it is, and that's what turned him into the tree person.
Almost couldn't care less. And would not pick that up under any circumstances. Now, I didn't want Tomb of Dracula. That seemed too scary for me. In retrospect, as a kid reading Tomb of Dracula, it was kind of scary. And reading it in the modern day, Mike, I hate to admit it kind of holds up. It's
really scary.
That's right. And our friend Tom Palmer Jr., his father Tom Palmer Sr., was the inker on the long-running Tomb of Dracula.
Middle-aged riding horse with no name. What's that one?
I don't know. Maybe who's selling it? They're still talking about the previous covers.
Could have been selling them steroid.
So anyway, they did do Marvel Spotlight on Werewolf by Night, where they had Jack Russell. I always wanted werewolves to be good. They were never good, except Man-Wolf. Now, do you remember who Man-Wolf was?
I want to say
Right.
Jameson's son.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. He had the moonstone. He had it around
Yes,
his
the
neck.
moonstone. That's right. Yeah.
And I don't know what it was, but there was something about didn't work with Werewolf by Night, worked with Man Wolf, Creatures on the Loose. Maybe it was the writing, but I always admired that character.
Now
With
they
his
tried to
yellow uniform, right? He had the yellow astronaut's uniform and he would turn into a werewolf. And I don't know why he kept showing up with that astronaut uniform.
well, you know, it happens. It's like the Hulk with his purple pants.
With his purple pants.
But I think they did Werewolf by Night as a series.
They ended up doing it as a series. They ended up doing it as a TV show too,
Yeah.
I believe, right?
Yeah, the TV show. That's what I was talking about. But I never saw it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of avoided it. What do you say?
I had a cousin who would pick up wild animals she thought were hurt or sick, only to have them wake up pissed off in her car while she was driving. All right. Probably had a lot of rabies shots.
Rabies shots. And he has past tense there. I had a cousin.
Yeah. Until one night.
You no longer have a cousin that picks up. All right. They tried to also go, wasn't it a scene in Tommy Boy? It might have been. I believe the picking up the rabid animals was the scene in Tommy Boy. All right. So Man-Thing, interestingly enough, within a couple weeks of each other, two writers who shared an apartment in New York City claimed that they did not share ideas. And Swamp Thing and Man-Thing came out within a couple months of each other by two writers. Swamp Thing came out from DC. Man-Thing came out from Marvel. Both were swamp creatures, different types of approaches to it. We only appreciate Man-Thing because of his name.
I don't think I ever read Man-Thing.
You should actually.
Now it's own magazine.
No, I've actually been thinking about we really need to do a retrospective on Man-Thing, and we have to get past all the jokes about the name, but it was quite innovative at its time.
Okay, all
right. So swamp creature, and if you remember, fear burns at the touch of Man-Thing.
Oh, that's right. Yes, he could burn things. Yes.
First appearance was in Howard the Duck.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, and then Marvel took this struggling, aimless book called The Defenders, which was supposed to be a superhero book, and then turned it into this weird horror book. So what you have here is son of Satan, Damon Hellstrom, which is supposed to be Satan's actual son, Hellcat, who I don't know what the thing with Hellcat was. Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
What was she?
She was, well, at least according to the series, the TV series, it was Jessica Jones. That's Jessica Jones's sister. And somehow she transforms or is given the power of like a Hellcat and becomes Hellcat.
So they kind of gave the character the name. Wasn't she something else or something?
I can't remember. I just remember watching Jessica Jones and going, oh, her sister is going to be Hellcat.
Exactly. And then Valkyrie here. And then they do all kinds of supernatural adventures. Hard to believe, Mike. Hard to believe. Look at tell his name back up, his comment up there. I've been called that a few times. I bet you have Hellcat.
Nine-size Man-Thing.
Nine-size Man-Thing, that's right.
Or Hellcat.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So Defenders, believe it or not, Mike, in a strange sort of way, Man-Thing and Defenders, if you can forgive the writing of the time and the uneven quality of the art, there were a lot of good ideas in there, some very well executed. They're hard to read today. They're kind of hard reads, almost like reading an old novel. Remember when you were in high school and you had to read novels and you were like, oh, I got to read this novel. And you try to go back and reread it and you're like, oh my God, it takes forever to get to the action, right?
Yeah.
You're like, why did I read this in high school? And it was because they made you, but never in the way I would like, though. Gatilla, we can relate. We were never giant-sized Man-Thing either. All right, so Mike, shall we continue?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Where are we? It's hard to find my mouse. Okay, so son of Satan, his sister was Satana.
I do not remember Satana. Give me the stupid name.
Yeah, what strikes me about Satan's children is they don't wear a lot of clothes.
Well, they're in hell. It's hot.
It's hot. But they did try to take both of these characters quite seriously. I am loath to admit that I didn't read Son of Satan when I was growing up. I did read it later. Kind of like it. Kind of took one of the Son of Satan ideas that I pitched to Marvel at the time, and then you and I turned it into our own hell-based comic book, which we one day will release, Mike.
One day
we have a hell-based comic book, but I wanted you to see the inspiration that Marvel was doing. At this point on the left are magazines. Marvel was able to get away with a lot more. They could get away with some nudity, a little bit of profanity. So the magazine size were not under the comics code.
Oh, they didn't need to do that.
No, they did not. Daddy issues, of course. Oh, that's right.
Well, see, this is one of those things that this is the son of Satan. And he's like, no, Father, I'm not going to let you invade the earth. Satan still should be able to take care of him, no problem. Like, bink, you're gone.
Yeah, I also don't understand. There was always that problem. At least with Satana, they didn't try to turn her into a hero. With Son of Satan, he was like, let me try to be a hero. It was dumb. Satana is like, I'm Satan's daughter. I'm bad. That's what I do. The Prince of Heck. To avoid copyright issues. All right. So we continue on. There was Ghost Rider, and then there was Ghost Rider.
Oh, I like the one on the left. That's cool.
Did you ever
read that? Riding a horse.
Did you ever read that?
No, never read that one.
So Marvel originally had something called Ghost Rider, which later I believe became Phantom Rider in the modern era. Always thought it was not for me. I never liked any Lord of Insufficient Light. I just could not get into a Western.
I can see it being hard to get into, but I like that cover. I would buy it just for that cover.
Would you going to give it a try?
Yeah, I'd read a couple issues, see what happened.
So when I was in middle school, Ghost Rider, this comic that you see here on the right, was like everybody wanted it. They were hard to get. My best friend's older brother got Ghost Rider, and he would like never let us read it. So this was like the forbidden fruit. And then as I got older and I began to collect the back issues,
eating Cheetos.
I would read these Ghost Rider issues in modern day, and I would go, I'm not sure why these were popular other than he was a flaming skull. But I've always had a soft spot for the Ghost Rider comic books and characters and action figures. There's something visually about it that I love. The early issues, personally, I don't think hold up, but some of the later issues I think do as well. Did the Western Ghost Rider make it?
Well, in the second Ghost Rider movie, Sam Elliott was like the original Ghost Rider, and his horse. He did that. That's good. Good call, Phil.
Yeah, in the second Ghost Rider, they had like the I don't know, the John Deere tractor turn into like a ghost monster machine. Oh, Mystery Science Theater 3000. Well done. All right. So, did you ever give the Ghost Rider a chance?
I read it. Yeah, occasionally I'd read Ghost Rider, but he was never one of my favorites.
He was always one of my favorites, but the stories never really held up.
Well, how much can you do with a flaming skull on a motorcycle?
Give me that book.
I would agree with that one. I'll agree with that.
And that had been the only part of the movie that was good. All right, here we go. Okay. Once again, Marvel trying to do
too scary for you.
Superheroes and comic books. Tomb of Dracula, a little too scary for me. But basically, again, it still holds up pretty well. I got a reprint of it. It actually wasn't bad. Dracula was a villain, and people were trying to stop him. Why he wore that costume all the time made no sense, but it worked. But what was crazy was Marvel was like, let's take Man-Thing, Morbius, Werewolf by Night, and Ghost Rider and put them into a book.
Yeah, well, why not? They're all there.
Night American, you will be pleasantly surprised in the next couple of slides because I think I'm about to show you something that you will like. Dracula, the only guy who I'm not sure I understand that one, Mike.
That's a Blade reference.
Oh, Blade reference.
We're
Okay.
trying to ice skate uphill.
All right. So, Mike, the Legion of Monsters does it make any sense for these characters to team up?
Well, they're all monsters. So, except for Ghost Rider. Well, I guess he's sort of a monster too. But they're all monsters. So why not team up the monsters?
I bought it, but I never really understood it.
Did you read it?
Yeah, I did.
Did you enjoy it?
No.
Well, good thing it only cost you 25 cents.
Yeah. Well, actually, it cost me probably like $20 because I bought it back issue. Yeah.
You didn't buy it at the time.
All right. So modern Marvel horror, there's not a lot here. We have more DC horror. Robert Kirkman, famous for his Walking Dead and Invincible comics, was given a chance to do Marvel Zombies. Now, I don't know anything about the background of this. These are the Arthur Saddam covers, but this was a freewheeling, fun story about a virus that affects Marvel superheroes, everybody, but Marvel superheroes. I have to tell you, Kirkman just hit it out of the park. It is so much fun. Did you ever read this, Mike?
I didn't read this, but I remember in the TV show What If, the Marvel What If series. I don't know if you ever watched that. They did a zombie one, zombie episode, and it was really good. It was great.
It was great. This was terrific. Kirkman. Thank you, Jared. Jared from Australia, Mike.
He's another Australian, yeah.
Well, why don't you say Happy Halloween in his
Jared doesn't mind that I do the accent, but then Andrew will get upset.
Let's split the difference. Just read Jared's in his voice.
Happy Halloween. No. Happy Halloween, guys. Hope you have a great one.
Fantastic. That was great. That was good. Did we lose the other guy?
Andrew. He's probably not happy right now.
Burnett, I read Army of Darkness when it was Marvel Zombies. It wasn't bad. No, I think most of the Marvel Zombies were pretty good. They did a whole bunch of follow-ups. I think every writer that hit it got it and understood it and made it fun.
Well, I got a LOL from Andrew.
You got a lull.
Yeah,
from Australia. Now, how close do you suppose Jared and Andrew live to each other?
They actually
pretty small, right?
They could be neighbors.
They could literally be in the same room.
Yeah.
All right. So, but let's get into indie horror, Mike. This is where things get really scary. For example, Vampirella.
Was Vampirella really scary?
Never.
No.
And I would question if with these covers, anybody was buying this particularly for the horror element.
No,
right?
Absolutely not.
They had the vampire. I mean, just look at these covers. They are not scary, but this is considered a horror comic.
I see it's not approved by the Comics Code.
No, nothing's approved by the Comics Code anymore. Do you remember when back in the good old days of early cons when we'd have the Vampirella spokesmodel there?
Yes, I do. Those were
we
good
spent
days.
A lot of time making sure that booth was okay. We park.
Very true. When you're having a shrimp on the bobby.
Wow. See that? Finally, starting with Vampirella. Gatilla, we are here for your entertainment. Anyway, lots of great covers. I've read as many Vampirella stories as I possibly could. This is actually even a crossover between Brian Pulido's Purgatory character. I don't know why they're straddling each other like that, but
why wouldn't they?
I don't know. It's a horror comic. But speaking of Brian Pulido, the horror meister himself, if there was ever a Stephen King to our industry, it is definitely Brian Pulido. Brian has made his brand as the horror guy.
I know a little bit about Lady Death and Eva Lerney. I don't think I've ever read too much of them, but were they scary? Aren't they just regular kind of hell characters?
They were more like 70s B-schlock horror. A lot of like holding up a skull, declaring things, a lot of declaring of things, rulers of domains. But if that's what you like, Brian Pulido, who I adore, I think he's done a great job of saying, I'm going to make horror. Brian might have a wonderful romance comic in him.
Maybe he does.
He might have a story of an ice skater who's also a graphic designer who meets a publisher in a bookstore, but he stays true to his horror brand. He's got an audience that loves him. I got to just tell you, if this is your thing, nobody does it better than Brian. Oh, I forgot about a Hack Slash. That's right. Hack Slash, another good. Well, probably Mike, more than anything, the best horror comics come out of indie books. I forgot about Hack Slash. Thank you for reminding me, Gatilla.
Hack Slash. I don't know Hack Slash. If only it was on the list.
Yeah, it's not on the list. Should we keep going? Let's keep going. Okay, two that I love. Nancy in Hell and Rachel Rising, both taking humor and horror.
You mentioned these a while back. I haven't read either of these either.
Okay, so Nancy in Hell is it literally bathes in its B-movie craziness. Okay. You're putting those up too quick. I can't even read them. You gotta read them to me. Yep, we don't worry, my friend. Your barf bags will be full in a minute. We're getting closer. So Nancy in Hell, basically, Nancy shows up in hell, armed with a chainsaw and not a lot of clothes, and just has to figure out why she's in hell. A lot of fun, very B movie.
And she can chainsaw demons.
Yeah.
Is it a magical chainsaw? Apparently. Okay.
Apparently, yep. Rachel Rising, once again, every time I tell somebody, if you don't read comics and you want to try something different and you don't mind some horror, Rachel Rising is absolutely wonderful. It is a masterwork by a master creator. I hope people run out and buy it. I don't care if you run out and buy it. Just buy it. Just go tell your local comic shop, order you the first trade paperback. If you don't love it, tell me on the show.
Terry Moore.
Read that out, Mike.
Hack Slash is Buffy the Vampire Slayer for slasher movie fans and metalheads.
Wow.
Is the best kind of schlock.
It is schlock that's happy to be schlock. It's not trying to be anything but schlock. I'm too old to run. I'm with you, Andrew. Tonight is my birthday, and I'm officially too old to run.
Yep.
And I'm wearing my Halloween shirt. Okay, so let's keep going, Mike. I don't know if you call Hellboy horror as much as you just call it moody, thematic, humor meets ironic horror. How would you describe Hellboy?
I definitely wouldn't describe it as horror.
It falls in the horror genre, no?
Well, it falls in the horror genre, I think, mainly because they do deal with hell and some demons and stuff, but it's not horror scary kind of stuff. Oh, Glenn says Hellboy's horror at times.
It is. Did Jared?
Oh, and then Jared.
Oh, thank you, Jared. Mike was going to ignore that one. I almost had to pull that one up myself. Thank you, Jared.
Say it in the Australian accent. Say it.
So it is horror at times. A lot of monsters and gothics and gargoyles and stuff. It's got a great look. You can pick up any issue of Hellboy and not be disappointed.
Yep. And he likes kittens.
Does he?
Yep.
He likes vampire luchadors.
Luchadors, yes. Nice.
And even if it's the middle of a series, you can just pick up an issue and it's fine. All right, here we go.
Oh, here we go. I missed this one.
Latest horror. I didn't watch it. You know?
That's good.
Okay, Something is Killing the Children and Bunny.
That one looks scary.
Yeah, Something is Killing the Children is quite literally in the title. It's a mystery. It is a Buffy-like character that you see on the cover, trying to fight a mysterious cult-like evil something. James Tynion IV. I think he wrote The Nice House on the Lake. He's written a lot for DC. This is an ongoing series. Dude, randomly pick up any issue and it's good.
Okay. All right.
It does have a YA twist to it, a YA feel to it. Like you could totally say, I could see this appealing to teenagers who like horror. Have you ever seen that one before?
No.
No. Okay. How about Bunny Mask?
I have never seen Bunny Mask either.
Does it look
collection?
Does it look disturbing?
It's not something I would pick up, but yeah, it is a little disturbing.
I'm not even 100% sure what it's about. It was Aftershock when Mike Martz was working there. He goes, "You have to read this. You have to check it out." And I go, "What did I just read?" But it was definitely horror. It's definitely this character, zombie vampire like. I don't know, but it was good. It was scary. It was creepy. It's a good creepy read. You could never get into those two. You know what? I think you just have to be in a certain frame of mind. Either you're going to get into it or not.
I wouldn't get into them.
These are absolutely disturbing. Have you ever read Black Hole?
No, I think you mentioned this one too. Anything that you would point out as disturbing are things that I wouldn't read anyway.
Black Hole is a standalone, I think like 4-issue miniseries. And then The Hive, Sugar Skull, and X'd Out are 3, like you're supposed to read all 3. They are disturbing as hell. You read it and you kind of don't want to go to bed.
Well, that's exactly why I wouldn't read it.
You know, like read a horror novel and you're like, I'm not going to be scared by this. And then suddenly you're like, that messes with my head.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember in high school when I watched Psycho for the first time, I had trouble sleeping and showering for months and months after that.
Your hygiene issues will not be affected by these comic books, but
they might be.
they might, but they are quite disturbing. Okay, speaking of disturbing, as we get close to the top of the hour, 2 books that I absolutely adore. Dwellings is a relatively recent book, drawn in the style of Richie Rich, but bloody, gory, stabbing, head chopping off horror.
See, I might pick up Dwellings just because it looks like it would be cute and funny instead of horror filled, but I definitely wouldn't pick up Plastic.
Plastic is absolutely disturbing, about a serial killer who falls in love with a sex doll, I guess, a plastic sex doll, and is just goes on a murdering rampage. It's grotesque and bloody. Both of them are. They're like, nothing's off camera. Everything is on camera.
Yeah, that's not for me.
But you would like Dwellings because it's rich.
No, I would pick up Dwellings just because of the cover and it looks cute and funny. But if it turned out to be as horrific as you say, I wouldn't watch it.
I would have to look it up, Mike. You should look up, write down the name. Jay Stevens is actually a Hollywood animation guy.
I actually know Jay Stevens.
He's a Hollywood animator guy. You know the name?
I worked on him with a project. I'm actually going to drop an email and say we mentioned him on the show.
Well, not only mentioned on the show, rave review for Dwellings, Mike. I have to tell you, I read it, and then on Goodreads, I put a 5-star rating, and I don't give a lot of 5-star ratings. Dwellings got a full 5-star rating. Loved it.
Interesting.
Look at Mike writing down 2 things. All right, I got you on 2 things so far. Earlier, somebody had asked about Halloween. I can't. Once again, Chaos Comics, Brian Polito. I do not know if these were any good. I never actually read them. Trusting that Brian is a horror and Halloween fan, I would imagine it's pretty good. I did think this was actually interesting. Remember when ash cans would come out and they would shoot up in value? Look at the value of the Untold Tales of Halloween. And one day we'll go into what ash cans are, but like why it's worth $700?
Because somebody will pay it.
Somebody will pay it. That's a good point. Lots of Halloween comics, including this promotional one-shot that came out. If you can get these promotional one-shots, they're often quite valuable. But it looks like Devil's Due also did a Halloween. I guess that has bounced around. Mike, have you ever read Afterlife with Archie?
I think I read one. I'm not sure I've seen any more than that.
So I did not think it was going to be good.
And it was.
It was terrific. Basically, a zombie plague starts with Jughead. It is authentically disturbing, particularly because you feel like you know these characters in one light, which is that very charming, lightweight, like comforting.
Riverdale. Yeah.
Comforting. It was Riverdale, but Riverdale gets overrun by zombies, and it is truly a masterpiece.
Interesting.
Did you?
That's something I would pick up because it's Archie, and I wouldn't think it would be too terrible.
It's pretty terrible. I mean, terrible in a good way. It's pretty terrifying. Terrible. Devils do. Afterlife with Archie, nothing but good things. I will tell you, the first run of Afterlife with Archie was great. I'm not sure about the follow-up books. I feel like Sabrina was pretty good, but I'm not sure about some of the others.
Okay.
All right. Crossed. Somebody asked about Crossed. Have you ever read Crossed?
I have never read Crossed, and I probably wouldn't from seeing those covers.
It is the most horrific, brutal comic.
Garth Ennis.
It is. So basically what happens is you get bitten zombie-like, and a cross of blood is burned across your face, and you begin killing people by eating them, and I hate to say it, doing physically horrible things to them, and no camera. It is like you read it and you're like, I hope nobody sees me reading this.
It's Garth Ennis. That's what you have to expect.
It's Garth at his most unhinged. I will tell you, Crossed, the original 6-issue miniseries, is an excellent story about a post-apocalyptic war. It happens to be about zombies, but in the center of it, Mike, is a wonderful story about sacrifice and what you would do to keep each other alive, the true price of horror, what would happen to children during an apocalypse. It's pretty brutal. It's not for the weak of heart. It's unsentimental. But then they followed up with several other runs, including a run by David Lapham, which just takes 11, like turn that up to 11 and goes all the way up. Yeah. I have to agree with Gatilla. It does give you nightmares, and it is pretty depressing. Yeah, I had a hard time. These are indeed, Mike, the cleanest and least problematic. They are brutal. If you just do a quick Google search and turn off safe search, they're brutal.
I'll have to look. At the. Well, I won't. Probably won't at all.
Yeah. Anyway, Crossed is a book that you'll like. They would hold it for me at the comic shop, and they'd be like, "Oh, somebody's buying Crossed." I'd be like, "Oh." Genuinely one of the scariest things you'll ever read. To the final slide, or final slides, we would be remiss without mentioning the landmark 30 Days of Night. And yeah, I did go. I was like, can you put those in a bag for me?
Were you wearing your hat?
I was certainly wearing a hat. Did you ever read 30 Days of Night?
I didn't read it. I know the story though. I didn't ever actually read the.
One of the great high premises, which is Barstow, Alaska, has 30 days of nighttime, and vampires go there for a vacation.
It's a great place to go.
Great, and then the movie with Josh Hartnett was terrific. Did you ever see the movie?
I don't think I ever saw the movie.
I got to tell you, the comic was excellent. The movie was just as good.
Really?
It's a rare occasion where they both hold up extremely well. It's like Road to Perdition. Both of them hold up extremely well.
That was good. That was a good one.
Okay, Stray Bullets, typically considered a crime noir comic book. Yeah, Ben Temple-Smith drew some amazing stuff, really amazing art on those. I do not think this issue was. I think it was Sam Keith on this one. But Stray Bullets #2, early on, crime noir about a kid in the 1970s going trick-or-treating, takes a horrifying twist. One of the most disturbing stories you'll read, and will make your heart ache, because you're like, people are so brutal.
Yeah, see, that's not my thing. I don't want to read any of that stuff.
But it is a Halloween theme, and I promised that I'd give you some good stuff. After Casper, it was all downhill.
It was. You actually should have ended with Casper. That would have been
a little palate cleanser. So happy Halloween to everybody, Mike. And thank you all for joining. Mike, what did you think of our all Halloween episode?
I thought it was quite excellent.
Do you want to wish me anything special tonight?
I wish you a happy birthday and a happy Halloween.
And a happy Halloween. Happy birthday to me. Happy Halloween to you, Mike. We'll see you guys next week. We love you guys. Happy Halloween. Bye-bye.